Hey guys, what's up? It's me, Air Kitty, and today is a very special day, or at least the day that you'll be seeing this on. I'm recording this a few days earlier, just because obviously it's going to take me a while to edit it, but on the day that you'll be seeing this, it will be officially 1 year that the channel has been up. Or, as I like to call it, because it sounds more special, I guess, the channel's birthday. First and foremost, I want to give a big thank you to everybody. You know, everyone who has subscribed, everyone who has commented, everyone who has liked videos, you know, everybody who has supported the channel in some way. Thank you guys so much. You know, one thing that I feel like a lot of people are going to feel is, oh, well, it's not that big of a deal. To me, this is a big deal. You know, all this, praise, the comments, the small history lessons that I've gotten and everything like that, like, they mean so much to me. Thank you guys so much. So in this video, I just kind of wanted to go over a few things. First and foremost, just how did we do for the year? So for statuses for the channel, I wanted to kind of go over how many videos have we put out so far? And I'm actually very impressed. Because when I looked at the number of videos that I had put out, how many I've edited, recorded, and, gone through the whole year, I have put out 66 videos. Comparing this to other YouTubers who do this full time, that may not sound as impressive. But for me, when I think of it as, I got a full-time job, I've got other responsibilities, and then on top of that, a lot of my video ideas I can't do right now. So there have been some problems and everything. But that has not stopped me, and that has not stopped my determination to make videos and continue with this. And that's probably the thing that I am most proud of right now, is the fact that I have lasted a whole year doing this. So out of the videos that I have done, out of all 66 of the videos that I've done so far, how have they been stacking up? Where do they sit right now? The first thing I wanted to cover right now is just how many views has each video gotten and which ones are kind of the top ones. I would pick the top 5, but I'm actually going to pick the top 4, and I'll explain in just a moment as to why. So first and foremost, the video that has gotten the most amount of views ever on my channel so far is the first part of the Time to Play Pet Shop by Fisher-Price. I could not believe when I saw this video had broken 200 views, as well as the fact of it had surpassed one of my other videos that had been in first place pretty much the whole year. So I was really impressed with that. But every day the number of views on that video just increases. So I am very impressed and glad about that. So top spot goes to, part 1 of the Time to Play Pet Shop. The number 2 spot, which is actually the video that was in the number 1 spot for the whole year, was actually the first part of the 102 Dalmatians video. I thought this one was going to stay at number 1. Firstly, because obviously it's one of my older videos, or my oldest in a sense. It's the series I started right around the time I started my channel, and it was a huge fan favorite. So I thought that one was going to surpass all the videos, simply more because of time and not so much necessarily favoritism, I suppose. But I was proven wrong. Third place, and this is again another impressive feat, I suppose, and why I'm going to choose the top 4 places. Number 3 and number 5 are both part of the exact same franchise. Oddly enough, in number 3 is actually part 3 of the Diva Stars fan website video that I did. But in number 5, it's part 1. But not following too far behind is actually part 4 of the Diva Stars fan website as well, which kind of is funny. I did not expect that these videos were going to gain as much popularity on my channel as they did. But I was so glad that they did. Every single time I'd hear anything about Diva Stars, or anybody talking about Diva Stars, throwback 90s and stuff like that, or throwback 2000s, everyone just seemed to always have these negative views about Diva Stars. Like, oh, their feet look like they're melting into their shoes, or they have such weird eyes. And granted, looking at it now from an adult standpoint, I could see why people were not as, thrilled about these toys, I guess, as, they might have been with like stuff like Barbie or something like that, or even like their competition dolls, the Bratz. But I still really love this because I will say the one thing that Mattel does right almost every single time with their brands was their websites. Every single time. I think the only other contender that I could think about that probably stood a chance, especially in the 2000s when it came to website design and games and stuff like that, probably Build-A-Bear. When you're talking about just like regular websites that kind of double as not only just a shopping area, but also a place for kids to play games on. So those two, for me, like Mattel's and Build-A-Bears, they had the top of the line, the kind of websites I always thought of as a kid. And obviously with Diva Stars being owned by Mattel, I think Mattel did a really good job and gave it justice for that brand. It's just unfortunate that, it kind of lost out to the Bratz dolls. But really, the third spot for the top amount of views, I'm just going to dedicate it to the whole Diva Stars fan website series, simply because they're not that far behind from each other. It's like one right after the other. So the fourth spot, and again, I'm going to do another series, is actually the Ariel Story Studio. So really, it's part 2 that has gained the fourth spot. But again, not too far behind, part 1 was also there. Yeah, it's great to see, this amount of attention to these games, especially for the fact of, I would have thought a lot of newer games would have probably gotten a lot more, views, as well as gotten a lot more attention. But no, a lot of these older games, I'm learning, are doing really great. Or at least, for my channel, they are. So, woo! But now, the other thing I wanted to talk about was videos that were most liked. Seeing the amount of views on videos is great, but unfortunately it kind of gives a false sense of hope, as I've learned after looking at analytics. A lot of times, a view is counted if someone just clicks on the video but then backs out immediately. So, it doesn't really tell me which videos are actually doing really well and which videos people actually really like. Out of all of the videos, the ones that have actually gotten the top amount of likes, and these two actually tied, which is, again, pretty funny. So, Diva Stars Part 3 and the first part of the 102 Dalmatians video. Those two videos both tied for having the top amount of likes. So, again, thank you guys so much for letting me know what kind of content you really like. Although, could someone explain to me why at like the 18-minute mark in Time to Play Pet Shop, the first part, why that's like the most watched part of my video? Like, I'm not complaining, and I'm not trying to be ungrateful or anything, but like, what did I do? Like, what did I do right? So, after that, it was again another Diva Stars video. It was part 2 of the Diva Stars fan website video, which, granted, I think that was the one where I took the quiz, and indirectly I got my brother as the perfect date option. So, yeah, fantastic. And then the third one, which, again, I was super excited to know about, because this was the first time I'd ever done this type of video, but the Working Woman Barbie video got like the third spot for most amount of likes. And I'm really glad about that. I've been really excited about doing like, not even so much necessarily toy reviews, because I feel like a lot of the toys I would bring onto the channel would be like older toys. Not necessarily that I wouldn't do newer toys. I've thought about that actually, about doing like newer brands, or like if there's like a reboot series of a brand or something like that, or something that looks like an older brand. kind of doing something with that. But I don't know. I'm just a big child inside. Even though I'm like an adult who does adult things and pays taxes and everything, I'm just like, I still love playing with toys. Like, every single time I go over to my cousin's house and I house sit for them, like, I'm sitting there, I'm looking at my baby cousin's, like, little kitchen set and everything like that. And I'm like, what the heck? What the heck is this? They have a place to put a smartphone while they're making their pretend plastic bacon. Like, what the heck? Where was that when I was a kid? And I get so jealous, but then I'm like, wait, I have money. I can have that now. And I don't care if people look at me and they think, isn't that strange? But like, no, I deserve this. I waited 20 years for this. I'm getting these toys now. So yes, expect that my room and my apartment will fill up, and maybe in about 2 years I'll have to move because I won't have enough space for all the toys that I've gathered. And I don't want to sell them. But so obviously, those were the top videos that got the most amount of likes. Now, the other thing I wanted to say was, thank you to the 18 people who have subscribed to my channel. I know that sounds very sad to say. Somebody had actually commented and mentioned that, it was kind of sad that I wasn't getting a lot more attention. And honestly, to that person, thank you so much. I am very grateful that, you said that, and it's really touching to know that, you enjoy my stuff so much, and that, you support what I'm doing, that, you believe that I should have that sort of recognition. There is a story and a reason as to why I even started YouTube, and possibly why I'm not doing so well. Now, granted, the reality is that many YouTube channels don't get a lot of recognition. The people who just spark up in popularity because of like a couple videos, that's a very rare occurrence. It's very much like the success stories that you hear about in the world. It's not to say that it doesn't happen, and it's not to say that it can't happen, but the people who have just had success kind of, not necessarily handed to them, but, they've just, in a sense, gotten it. It's in the sense of like, being in the right place at the right time, which is very, very rare. A lot of YouTubers, they spend years, working hard and putting out videos and networking and everything else. I mean, granted, when I look at my job, my IT job, it took me years to get this job. But there was one thing, I guess a question in a sense, that I felt like maybe others may have questioned about and may have wanted to know kind of like the origin story of this channel. Like, why did it become what it is today? Why did I start it in the first place? So cue the story time with Air Kitty. You're getting a bonus video. I had been doing YouTube for a while actually, and I actually originally started on my more personal account. After a while, like I don't know, I wasn't entirely happy with the videos I was putting out. I loved that I was making videos, not necessarily with the quality of the videos I was putting out. And it was not so much the fact of like, oh, I don't have the equipment, oh, I don't have the software. It was me. I didn't feel like I had grown into the person that I wanted to be, the person that I had wanted to show to the world. So, I kind of dropped off for a little bit, took some time away, focused more on college. And it was actually kind of funny because obviously when I started the channel, COVID had hit. And I remember pretty much the day, like what day it was that I officially went home. Like they sent out the letter and they said, you can go home. I was working kind of off-site at another place. Like it's still our work site, but it was like another location. And so we were set up in one of these like classroom areas. And, my boss, everybody had been talking about the idea like, okay, we might be going home. We don't know. And honestly, I was just praying that we got sent home. I wanted them to tell me like, okay, like we're working remote now, because I was so scared. We had just had our first couple positives in the state that week. And I was just like, I just want to go home to my family. I just want to make sure that they're safe. I don't want to get sick and risk anything. I remember the exact day. It was like March 15th right around noontime. And my boss was like, all right, we've got the email that we can go home. So pack up the equipment, let's go. And I mean, literally, it was really funny. So for anybody that wasn't in IT in that area, like where I was working, it might have seemed really weird because like literally I was hauling out all of the equipment that I had, monitors, thin clients, wires, speakers, everything that we had, because we had to move everything to that site anyways. But obviously they had given us the okay that we could take all the equipment home with us to help us work remotely. I was hauling out all that stuff into my car. It looked like I had stolen it. I was going that fast from the building to my car. And I just remember driving home and listening to the radio and then hearing that 9 more cases had popped up in the neighboring county from me. And I was like, oh my God, it's spreading. It's getting worse. So I made it through like a week of working remotely. And then it kind of dawned on me. I was like, I live about 30 minutes away from work. I'm like, I'm not making that hour trek back and forth. And, I don't have my whole day necessarily taken up with just work stuff. Now I'm like, I have a lot more free time on my hands. I kind of thought about it. I was like, well, I really need to do something. I'm like, I can't just wallow around in this like, oh no, the coronavirus, we're all doomed and doom and gloom and everything like that. That's just not who I am. I don't like kind of, not necessarily sulking, but, just thinking like that. When bad things happen to me, I try not to focus on the, oh my God, this is so bad. I try to focus on, okay, how can I fix it? How can I make it better? And that's exactly what I did. With it was just like, how can I make this situation better for myself? Because, I have my job now, but, I'm like, what if, I think at the time, because I was living with my parents and everything like that and my siblings, I think at the time my mom had been like temporarily laid off. My dad, I think, was still able to work, but I think it might have been like he had to do remote for a while. My sister didn't have a job at the time. I think she was still in school. My brother, I believe, still had a job because it was overnight work and he was a grocery store worker at the time, so he could still go. But yeah, so, I kind of worried. I was like, okay, my boss, my higher ups have assured us that there's not going to be any layoffs that year. But that doesn't mean that my other family members couldn't be laid off, because we weren't sure at the time what was going on with my mom's job. And I was kind of mentally preparing that. I was like, okay, if she gets laid off for a little while, or if she gets laid off at all, some of that financial responsibility is going to fall onto me and then possibly my brother. And my mom's very independent. She would probably not let that happen. She would immediately go out and get another job. But honestly, I'm like, I would not let my family struggle like that. I mentally was preparing for that day. Like, I was like, oh my God, I'm going to have to basically take charge, like financially at least, to make sure that we don't, lose our house, to make sure that we can eat every day. Like, I was scared for that. Thankfully, obviously, that didn't happen. They immediately, once her company kind of figured stuff out, they actually immediately called her back and was like, hey, so we're only allowed to get these many people into the building to work. And we definitely want you working with us because you're one of our best workers. So they immediately got her back in, maybe within a month. But yeah, it was kind of scary. But so the other thing I thought about was, with this extra time on my hands, I was like, I don't want to think about all these bad things that are happening. I want to give something that I know I'm good at. I wanted to do something meaningful. Because the other thing I was struggling with, and I think I've said this in a few other videos, but the other thing I was struggling with was coming to the realization that not only was I not going to be able to see my friends, who, I'd seen on a regular basis, like going to their house and, playing games and doing game nights, stuff like that. Prior to COVID, I was also really upset because since Jeffrey and I lived in 2 different states, and the fact that, he works in the medical field, I was dealing with that realization of I'm not going to be able to see Jeffrey because of the fact that I lived with other people that unfortunately had to go out because they were like considered the essentials in a sense, like either a grocery store or like, helping make masks or something like that, or, doing all these other things, but they were around people that could potentially had the virus. Jeffrey wasn't going to be able to come visit me, until I could safely quarantine, but that wasn't going to happen. Jeffrey and I had tried to make plans and everything like that to see each other, but they always got screwed up in one way or another. Like, obviously, like, at some point, somebody in my family actually did get positive and it put me at risk. I didn't get it, thankfully. Thank my lucky stars. And nobody had to go to the hospital. Everyone's safe. But obviously, that meant Jeffrey couldn't come see me. There were times like, we would try, but other things would get in the way, like other plans or other things that need to happen, like appointments and stuff. So literally because of this whole thing, I think up until like a couple weeks after I moved in, so like sometime in February, it had pretty much been a whole year since I had seen Jeffrey, like face to face. And I remember pretty much crying after he left because I was so happy I finally got one day to see him. So obviously, to all you people out there that obviously have spouses, partners, boyfriends, girlfriends, significant others, family members that are in the healthcare field or the medical field in any way, and you're kind of dealing with the same thing where it's like you basically live two separate lives away from each other and the only contact you have is like on a screen or something like that. I feel you on so many levels. Yeah, I know that struggle very well, and I'm not gonna dish you for it because yes, I get dissed for it. My only other thing that I could think about was I wanted to start my YouTube channel again. Like, I wanted to do video games again. And there was multiple reasons for it. Some of the smaller reasons was because, one, I was like, I love playing video games, but, it kind of felt lonely playing them by myself all the time, like, not having anybody around. So I thought, it'd be fun to kind of show off that, and show people, these experiences, as well as the fact of, like, every single time I played a game, something weird happens that I'm like, it's like one of those moments was like, oh my god, you had to be there to see it. And I didn't want that anymore. I'm like, I want to finally record this, get it on camera and everything, so that people know that I am not making this up. Just because, like, there would be, like, some strange and weird events. Like, even to this day, there are some events that have happened in games that I cannot find in any, like, wiki or anything like that. Like, it's almost like as if it wasn't even programmed in the game. Or possibly it was, like, a one-time thing that happens and you never see it again. And it has, like, maybe a 1% chance of it ever showing up. It's stuff like that I'm like, I wanted to get recorded. But the other thing too was because of the fact that, it was during COVID, one event from my life actually kind of came back to me in that moment and reminded me of something that I felt I could give back, that I felt was meaningful to, people. And that kind of was the joy of laughter. So while I was in college, I had a DeviantArt account prior, and I don't really draw so much anymore or do any artwork, but I still really love it. I had made this one piece where I had taken the Fruits Basket characters and put them in the roles of like the Sailor Moon characters, so like even like the guys and everything like that. So I think I had possibly like, I think I had like Kyo as like Sailor Mars and I think Yuki was, no, not Yuki, it was his brother. I had his brother as like Sailor Venus, because, he's the pretty one. But yeah, so I had made this piece, and, it was just kind of funny, casual thing. I was like, this will be cool. And I can tell you right now, even honestly looking at that and comparing it to my newer works, as well as the fact of comparing it to many other people's works, it was good, but it was not great. Proportions weren't exactly the way that they were supposed to. It wasn't like a very elaborate picture. It was like all of them like in chibi form, and on top of that it was in colored pencil. Like it was just colored in colored pencil. But somebody had commented on that picture, and to this day I've remembered it, and it's meant so much to me. And it's kind of put into perspective, like, the work that I do and how it pays off, I guess. Somebody had commented on the picture and had said, I was having a really crappy day. My boyfriend just broke up with me and I failed a test and stuff like that. She's like, I was just going through here, I don't know, just because. I saw your picture and I just burst out laughing. And she was like, thank you so much for brightening my day. It made me feel so good about what I had done for her. Like, I felt like in some ways, like, not only did I brighten her day, but I also felt like I gave her hope. Like, hope that brighter days will come. That, this is just a bump in the road. And that's kind of what I wanted to do with this channel. Was I wanted to give people hope. I wanted to make people laugh. I wanted to give people a way to escape, I guess. Especially now with, COVID, but just even further down the line. I'm not saying necessarily to run away from everything that's a problem or run away from, this very realistic danger, in a sense, and just pretend like it's not happening. But a lot of times it's easier to deal with something if you give yourself time to let it process. And a lot of times it requires stepping away from what you're doing, stepping away from the problem for, a while and coming back to it. And on top of that, just hearing someone else's perspective, listening to other people. Overall, the big answer to the question of why did I start this channel, it was to give people hope, to give them a laugh, make them happy. But I did it more for myself, like in the sense of, when I said, like, okay, I dropped kind of doing YouTube because I hadn't grown to the person that I wanted to be. I've realized now, coming back into it, it's like I have now grown into that person I want to be. I still have a lot more growing. There's a lot more to learn. But in this moment right now, I feel like I have completed the biggest growth that I have wanted to achieve in my life. Doing this, being on YouTube, I feel like has really brought out me as a person, has brought out kind of like my true colors, in a sense. I feel like I really can be my own person. First and foremost, that's all because of you guys. So this is a team effort. Yeah, I started it. I lit the torch and I led the way, but you guys are the ones that supported me. You guys are the ones, that subscribed, that commented, that liked. You were the ones that came to me and said to me, you deserve recognition. You deserve this. You deserve that. I can only be built up as far as you guys will let me be built up, I suppose. One thing I did want to mention, though, was the fact of, so kind of going back to that comment of somebody saying, like, you deserve more subscribers. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm grateful that I got this many subscribers, my 18, because I wasn't expecting anything. I wasn't expecting any recognition, anything. And I was okay with that. Because in a way, I'm not gonna lie, yeah, becoming YouTube famous would be cool. I can't lie about that, that'd be cool. But in a way, I'm also scared, simply because of the expectations that people might have of me. One thing I see on a lot of people's channels is their channel gets so big that they can't respond to many people, or that they can't, connect with people as much as they wanted to. So it's kind of one of those things where, like, I love that I can connect with you guys so directly, and, I get to read every single comment, and I get to see everything that goes on, even right down to the minute detail. I almost don't want to lose that. I like kind of the smaller community, but that's not to say that I'm not gonna, wholeheartedly welcome and invite people to subscribe to my channel or, view things. Just obviously be gentle with me, be fair. But yeah, I don't expect that I will ever get to the kind of subscription bracket that people like PewDiePie and Jacksepticeye and Markiplier and even like, Peanut Butter Gamer and Space Hamster are at. just some YouTubers I watch on a casual occasion. I don't expect that at all. But I am grateful for what I have. I am grateful for the progress that I have made. Because, sure, it's not a lot to some people, but you have to get your start somewhere. And on top of that, when you look at the road ahead of you and you try to see how far you need to go, it seems really daunting. But when you turn around and look at how far you've actually come in comparison, the distance of how far you have to go left, it doesn't seem that bad anymore. And the fact that I've made it a year, the fact that I've gotten 18 subscribers, the fact that I've made all these videos pretty much by myself, no editor, no help from really anybody else except for maybe Google and like a couple advice from friends. I've done it all on my own pretty much. And I'm very proud of that fact. Like super, super proud that, I've gotten this far. We have gotten this far. So back on a more lighthearted, whimsical note. Okay, so like story time with Air Kitty's over. We're done with that now. So the next steps with the channel. What do I plan to do? Not just necessarily in the next year, but just upcoming. Small reminder for everybody. The channel is called Dabbling in Variety. So I really want to, I'm going to stick with a lot of older games. Yes. I mean, granted, right there is a whole shelf of games that I still need to play that are all in the back to basics category pretty much. But I do want to kind of get into like more newer titles as well, like upcoming releases and such. So I hope that you guys will be open-minded to that. Obviously know that the older stuff is not going away. That will just kind of always be on the channel. Like, I will just keep doing that because I don't think I will ever reach the end of old games. But just know that I'm going to try to throw in some, like, newer games as well. Along with the newer games, I'm also going to try more console games because obviously, as you saw, now that we have Rugrats on the channel, I can now play console games because I finally have capture cards. I say I have capture cards because one of them is a converter for like the PlayStation and the GameCube and stuff that needs AV cords. So I technically call it capture cards. Make it cool with a Z. The other area of gaming that I really also wanted to get into was indie titles. I've been looking at a lot of games on itch.io and there's a lot of them. I know a lot of people like they get their start on itch.io and then they kind of graduate to Steam. But there's a lot of really interesting titles that I would love to kind of give them their recognition and stuff like that. Just one, get their name out there. But I am genuinely curious. I am genuinely curious to know, what do they got? What do they offer to the gaming community, I guess? And see if, could that be built off of? That's definitely something. Now, kind of pushing gaming to the side for a little bit and talking about other things, because again, we are a variety channel here. I want to get into different types of videos as well. So obviously one thing I want to get into that I was saying before is I really want to get into like toy stuff. So obviously I have a few toys that I've kind of thought about doing videos on. Some of them I'm having a hard time getting my hands on because they're very expensive and they're very rare. But then there's other toys, I'm like, some of them might be newer toys in a sense, and I'm like, I actually kind of want to do, like, stuff on this. Like, I actually want to show this to the world. Or, like, just check it out for myself. Just because they look cool. I don't know, is that weird? And one type of video that I'm very iffy on, and I kind of want to pass it by you guys first. So I really want to try some type of cooking video. And I don't mean like cooking simulator. I mean like actual cooking, like in real life. Where I could actually accidentally burn my house down. Kind of cooking. But I wanted to kind of run it by you guys because I'm like, granted, I watch a lot of like Brutal Moose's stuff and he has this whole segment of Brutal Foods and I love that stuff. And that's kind of where I got the inspiration for it. As well as like some of like PBG's like, kind of more like food reviews, I guess. But I kind of wanted to put a spin on it somehow. Like, Obviously, I don't think I will ever do anything like without a recipe of some sort, or instructions on how to prepare, because that's kind of dangerous. And I'd rather not give myself or anybody that could be on the channel like food poisoning or explosive diarrhea. You know, the chance of getting Spidey powers out of my food is a very slim chance. So, but I wanted to definitely do something new with it. I wanted to, you know, kind of have fun with it. So I kind of want to know what you guys are interested in. Would you like kind of more like a traditional like cooking video, like where I'm like trying out some wacky, weird kind of recipe from like a 1950s cookbook? Or, you know, do you want me to spice it up somehow with, you know, I don't know, maybe making a competition out of it? Get me and my friends together and try to make a competition out of it somehow. I don't know. I mean, I'm kind of leaving this kind of up to you guys. Like, I definitely want to do a cooking video, and I might just do one, like the first one, just kind of offhand, just to kind of see how it goes. Because sometimes we're not really gonna know what to do with the video until I put it out there and then I get feedback. But if you guys definitely have ideas, let me know. And, you know, if you have ideas for like certain types of videos that you'd want me to try out, let me know. The worst I could say is no. But I definitely want to become more adventurous with making more videos. Yeah, it's my channel and yeah, I have final say, but like I said, this is a team effort. You know, continue to support if you'd like. I'm not going to force you to do it because that's just mean, and I'm not going to I'm not going to coerce you into it. I'm not going to trick you into it either. So, you know, if you want to like the video, like the video. You know, if you want to add a comment, add a comment. If you want to subscribe, subscribe. Cool. I'm happy either way, to be honest. I'm a very simple person. It doesn't take that much to make me happy, impress me, as we've seen. Just send me toys and I'm good. Not those types of toys. Not the adult toys. Don't send me those. We gotta draw a line somewhere, okay? But yeah, I'll see you guys in my next video, whatever it is. Bye-bye.